Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prehospital Paradigm Podcast. I'm Scott Wildenheim. Off to the left here, I got AJ joining us back, Wes Green over there, and to my right, Dr. John Hill. Hey, we are continuing our series about inside the Institute and all the stuff that we do as that whole encompassing institute, the EMS Institute here at University Hospitals. So we wanted to take this time, kind of self-promote a little bit, but there's so much that we do that just people aren't aware of, and that's really kind of the whole impetus for this.
I mean, there's people inside the institute that don't know what the other part of the institute
does. It is that big, right? Mm-hmm. We've already kind of talked about. In the first episode, as this is our extra episode for these months with five Mondays, we've already kind of talked about the hub and spoke model and how we're set up with Cleveland Medical Center being the hub, and then the spoke with all the community hospitals. We've talked about those and our partner hospitals, because there's several hospitals that we have a close association with, but aren't exactly branded UH. And then the kind of how our why we chose a level 3 trauma system and how that integrates as part of that hub and spoke model. We talked about the ECMO out in the community. Then our kind of internal quarterback process that we do, where we have dedicated specific EMS traffic handlers for incoming EMS traffic, and we're handling our own business here and working in collaboration with the with each of the emergency departments and how we're moving traffic and trying to reduce wall time and get that interface with the between the hospital and the EMS services. We talked about some of our referral center and how we kind of move patients around the system a little bit. We pulled the curtain back on some of the players and some of the staff at each of the hospitals, and we spent a fair amount of time talking about protocol development, both locally and regionally, and we also spent a fair amount of time kind of talking about our newest project in that protocol space, which is One Dose, which is our protocol and decision support software piece that we've bought into and work collaboratively with to build that out. And even since we've recorded this, there's been that first episode, I should say. Even since we recorded that, we've added a ton of new features. I think we were just talking about anticipating medication scanning at that point. I don't know that it had launched yet, so. Now baked into that, the medical provider in the back of the ambulance, maybe by themselves, right? Doesn't have anybody to do appropriate cross-check with medication. We can scan that, and then that information is all cross-checked right there on the huge medication safety initiative on our side. We're going to talk a little bit more today about some more pharmacy-related things, initiatives, and how some of those processes work. And we've got a great example here of just recently. Of our teamwork with the pharmacy, and of course they've been on several podcasts. We've had our pharmacist liaison and our pharmacy team on to talk about various things.
I mean, they're probably one of our biggest supports inside of the UH.
100%. Yeah.
Like, we rely on them for a lot of
so much
safety and training and drug selection and what goes in the box and where does it go in the box, and I mean, they're invaluable to us. Yeah, and
we're going to do this in reverse order since we've already kind of planted that seed. Let's talk about that integration in the way we're set up. So we have a liaison assigned to us who is pharmacy manager down at Portage Hospital, and he kind of acts as the go-between between the rest of the pharmacy system for us, and again, that's Cleveland Medical Center as well as all of the community hospitals, to make sure that they're all aligned, and we've got patients and departments on the west side or the south, deep south, or they're getting drug boxes in the exact same manner across the system. That in and of itself is just a gigantic undertaking, right?
Yep.
Because we want somebody to be able to go from Department A, who's working part time, to Department B, open the drug box, and
it's all the same.
It's the same
Yeah,
thing,
exactly.
right? Matter of fact, here where we're filming this, back part of this building is where those drug boxes are stored and put together as before they're distributed out. To make there's a template, right? And that template is we just that gets cookie cuttered and pushed out into to our pharmacy partners, who then stock them, manage the medications for us, and then deploy them out to all of the all the agencies that need them.
Yeah, and we'll talk specifically about the issue we had, but think about if you've ever worked in like logistics, like we've got a mini logistics operation just around these drug boxes. And think about it, I harken back to like if you hear big stories of like McDonald's wanting to add a new menu item, and they've got to talk with the whole logistics line of just adding like, we want to add lettuce or we want to add kale to it. Like, well, if I have to add kale to it, how am I going to distribute this across? And that we have the same exact problem.
Because I mean, we've got thousands of drug boxes. It's not just, oh, hey, there's 100 that we got to hit when we make this change. I mean, it goes for thousands of them across the whole system.
Yeah, then we got to plan that change as to how we're going to roll that out, and then how we're going to manage it in between time. Like, well, this drug box may not have this drug that you're expecting because we haven't been able to rotate it through our stock.
Yeah, and that needs to all be in correlation with the protocol release and training, right? And we certainly can't have medications that are in the box that nobody's been trained on or not approved to use. And conversely, we certainly can't launch a protocol out there and be like, man, you don't have we can't give you the tools to support it yet, So that all has to be timed and coordinated. And to your point, John, you're absolutely right. It's we just can't. We have so many drug boxes. I mean, we're talking thousands of drug boxes that are supported across the entire system. One simple change is not a simple change, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's just moving it. Okay, all right, we've got people, look alike, sound alike. They're, in too close proximity to each other, and we want to just move them. It's it seems like, oh, just move it over there. Well, no, you got to do that thousands of times, but and it's got to be the same thousands of times, which is honestly the hardest part.
And all those boxes half of them are staying in service that day. Yeah. So you have a rotation of, everything takes time because they have to rotate back into the pharmacy and get whatever change happens to be.
Yeah, now we have a whole episode on pharmacy and how we choose to manage stuff. But just quick overview. For those who are unaware or not using our drug box system for whatever reason, we as UH have all those, and it's just a drug box exchange, right? So when medications are used, there's a minimum par level, So if you use an albuterol out of it, don't go take that back and use a nitro or some aspirin or even an epi or two. There's plenty more in that box to keep it out in the world.
It's designed for multiple patients, multiple uses.
In general, obviously, major prolonged cardiac arrest, prolonged entry. Yeah, okay, you're going to burn a box. It's that's understood, but it's designed to do that. We don't really put departments can have multiple boxes if their call volume warrants it, if their security measures allow for it and whatnot. They can have multiple boxes on the truck. We have very busy organizations that do exactly that. Have 2 boxes on the truck.
We've got organizations that burn through multiple boxes on one truck in a day.
In a day, right? Yeah. Right. So that's all kind of maintained in house. I think we got to throw a little bit tease out there about kit check, because that's going to tie into the story that we really want to tell here in just a minute.
That's one way that all that logistics can be done is the kit check.
Exactly.
If you ever did your own drug box checks before
kit check,
and you looked at every single one and read every single one and looked at every single expiration date and then had to place an order and then wait for that order to come in and then change it.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that over the 1,000 boxes.
No.
And kit check is that.
It automates that process.
Yeah. So there's an RFID tag. For those who don't know, there's an RFID tag that pharmacy adds every single vial.
Yep.
So that way we can put the whole box into, Ray calls it an easy bake oven, but it essentially is a big giant box sensor that can read all those tags, know the expiration date, know the lot numbers, know if there's drugs that are expired or on recall, hint.
And it gives them 3 months out expiration too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So automatically know that.
And
Within
so-
that same system, you have the RFID tags, but we also know where these drug boxes go, right? So we can say that 1 through 10 is at a fire department. You know what I mean? So when this recall happens, we know where to find them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's all part of that same system. So
Yeah, exactly. So that way we have a system kit check that tracks all these drugs and all these drug boxes, who has them, when they were last seen type of deal, so we can identify where all these drug boxes are. So it makes things really easy for us as a large organization. And I also work at a small community hospital where we have tens of boxes. I don't think we even have 100.
yeah,
And for them, it doesn't make sense to have that. We can manage it just fine without having a big system to do it. We just manage them the old-fashioned way.
Hand count. Yeah. No, that's exactly it.
But for the provider, though, they put the expiration date of the first drug in that box. So on your check,
On the outside of the box.
that's what you're looking for, is whatever date that is. That is the first drug in
First
that
to
whole
expire.
box
Yeah.
that's going to expire. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and as
that's
soon as,
nice.
yeah, and so it can be when you're doing your truck checks, you're checking your boxes, making sure all your drug box is still good, and if it's not, it should come off the box, get red tagged, that we tag it so it's no longer in good use, and replace it. Or if you don't have any, well, first thing you do in that morning is do your truck check and go swap out that drug box to get a new fresh new drug box.
And Wes, you kind of already threw out there that magic, 3-month number, and that's generally what you'd expect most drug boxes. There's going to be an occasional exception to the rule, but generally, when you get a drug box from pharmacy, you've got at least most cases, you got a quarter that's going to stay active on the truck. It's rare that you get one back and it's like, oh, I got to bring this back in 3 days, or we got to bring this back in a month or something like that. So they're proactively managing that use by date, right? They're proactively pushing that out, so these things aren't coming back.
That system will also tell them if there's some kind of shortage. Like I know there was a butyrol a while back, and we carry 5 butyrols in the box, and it automatically said, as soon as it scanned, hey, 3 are okay for right now.
Yeah.
But that computer program told them that immediately, so they knew, okay, I can, this is what's going on. We can do this, or change this. So
yeah.
And we'll give a little bit of props to our biggest supporter in the EMS space, with the most departments that are managed by one hospital pharmacy, and that's of course at Portage. They have a guy. They have a guy that is, his job is EMS drug boxes day in, day out. To help with that, right?
Well, he manages the drug boxes for, I'll say, public-facing EMS, but also manages the drug boxes that we use in our internal inter-facility transports. He also manages the drug boxes that we use for event medicine that we'll talk about. Puts together all the RSI drugs. They do a lot of stuff out of UH Portage from a drug management side.
Yeah, poor Brett.
with that on kit check still. So the main thing about that machine, I call it the microwave. It's a little blue microwave, but when it goes in there, it is only scanning the RFID tag.
Yes. Yeah.
Not the drug.
Yeah.
So if it's an empty drug vial, there's an RFID tag in there. So that is a repetitive thing of don't put the trash back in.
Yeah, if I was just going to say for tracking purposes, they're also putting RFID tags on the needles and the syringes to make sure that those are in those boxes. And again, make sure we're not putting those in the boxes.
That's all it's doing is it's a fancy system, but it's only scanning the RFID tag. So you put the empty epi vial back in there. The machine thinks it's in there.
Now it's going to be double checked by pharmacy, right? They're going to see that it was logged on the on the usage
they usually
sheet.
catch it.
Yeah, but sometimes. Yeah.
That's a lot of, there's lots of drugs in there. And again, when you're looking at 1,000 or 150 that each hospital has or whatever, then that's a lot to double check.
Oh,
That's strong message that needs to be repeated, right? Is any trash needs to not wind up back in there, because it's
trash.
It's trash, and it's tracked. It's tracked Right. We can put your trash can into the microwave and see what you used.
Yeah.
Well, and even for that point, it doesn't happen that often, but more as a PSA, and our pharmacy colleagues will like this, is no trash, especially used needles, right? We don't need anyone to get injured by broken glass or a sharp needle in that. We have sharps containers for a reason. Put it in the sharps container.
Yeah. Yep.
The nice thing about controlling them too, and again from Derek and Portage, having that integration with us, that controls the concentration, which makes the protocol more valuable.
Makes it work.
That
mean,
That
let's
this
fa-
is, you know,
Yeah.
you know, what you're illustrating there is the concentration has to match what's going on in the protocol for the protocol to work.
Right.
More importantly, one step
Well, and
further.
to stop errors, because we all of a sudden change the concentration on you,
Yeah.
although our new tool will do that.
it will.
That doesn't help you at high providers, 3 o'clock in the morning, you
Right.
pull it out, I'm tired, I'm just doing what I always do, and oh no, my concentration's now 10 times what it should be,
Yeah.
and now I just overdose my
Yep.
patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the illustration I was going to make. We've already baked the math into our tool at one dose for a particular concentration. Yes, there is the ability to make a flying change if for some reason you're presented with something. But how about we just not make that a concern
Yeah.
by making sure that we're getting very specific concentration. So when we do a protocol change, there's those protocol changes, they're made in consultation with pharmacy because they have to be able to support, a perfect example is Dilaudid, right? The Dilaudid concentration we use in the field is intentionally chosen to reduce errors, 1 milligram per milliliter, rather than what often, not always, I think it's making more of a push in the ED space, but there was a time it was 2 milligrams per milliliter, which was kind of the standard concentration in the ED. So, we had to make sure, hey, can you support this? And we've had times where the 2-in-1 was not on shortage and the 1-on-1 was on
Yeah.
shortage. Actually, I still think it is still a little
That
bit
still is.
still an ongoing issue.
Yep.
But so that kind of tees us up for the conversation of
Before we even do that, I
Yeah.
think that pharmacy will they'll flex the hospital stock because the hospital's
point.
used to using different concentrations and verifying that as opposed to keep our stock stable, right? So we're keeping concentration stable. We try very hard not to touch those drug boxes
Yeah.
in any form, so that way we keep consistency across. If we have to make changes, we are very vocal about that and try to tell everybody. But yeah, we'll swap things out. They'll use, if we know that an albuterol is expiring in a box, they'll actually pull it out of a box and they'll put it into hospital supply, so that way it gets used, and so we're not wasting these medications.
Yeah.
So they do a great job of just managing that inventory from that standpoint to reduce waste of those drugs, and then to keep the EMS concentrations and that
The
box
same, yeah.
stable, and then flex that out with what's available inside the hospital. And to be fair, there are already a lot of tools inside of the hospital system to do medication verification, and they've got barcode scanning, and that is the standard of care, and that's what the big flex has been for us this year in
Yep.
2026, is to move that standard of care. It's been around for decades.
yeah,
in the
not
hospital,
new, right?
into the pre-hospital space or the out-of-hospital space. We're talking interfacility transports to make that realm of medication administration a little bit safer.
And I can't remember which natural disaster in which order it happened, but the impact to the industry, not just here locally, the industry impact was pre-filled EPIs were non-existent for a period of time. I forget if that was Puerto Rico or there was a time when one of those natural disasters happened and we couldn't get pre-filled epi. This was really bolstering your point of we shift things from the hospital to the pre-hospital stuff to preserve that. That really did not affect us. So I mean, they were breaking down 1 milligram, 1 in 1,000 or 1 milligram per milliliter ampules in the hospital to make cardiac epi with a flush, and I think there's a couple instances where that trickled out in EMS, but for the most part, we had pre-fills through that entire thing because we were prioritized. So that really just goes to to your illustration of what lengths they go through to protect EMS and EMS concentrations, right, and workflow, because they know it's usually a single provider in crappy circumstances that are trying to use these correctly.
And those pre-filled syringes that come from manufacturers can last for months, as opposed to if we're mixing it in our own hoods, the shelf life, that's days.
That's different, right?
Yeah, they can only sit there for days. So,
Yeah.
and a lot of pharmacies do that in the hospital. Like, there's a lot of pharmacies that will mix up, and my current hospitals we're mixing up our own Dilaudid because Dilaudid's on shortage.
Yeah.
So they're mixing up their own Dilaudid pre-filled syringes A lot of like pre-op areas have pre-filled like Versed and stuff like that. That pharmacy just does on a daily basis, and they're foil capped and everything. But shelf life's a few days for those.
So, I mean, all of that to kind of lead us into our most recent experience and, again, illustrate that teamwork between EMS and pharmacy, which was a recall, a major recall. I mean, I know you guys have the stats on that. Why don't and you lived most of that because you were the EMS side of that liaison, that liaison on the EMS side of things.
Yeah.
Walk us through what happened and
Yeah, I mean, it was
the scope of this. This was
we were actually teaching a class that day.
Yep.
Me and John, and Derek called me up that morning and goes, "Hey, we got problems." And that's never good when the pharmacist calls you and says, "Hey, we got problems." So long story short, he goes, the epi vials have been recalled by the manufacturer. They failed their 18-month test.
Yeah.
And he said, my quick numbers running through kit check, he goes, I'm estimating over 700 boxes. And we were like, oh boy, you know what I mean? How do we handle that? So we knew it was at least 700 boxes, could be more. He's pulling numbers. So while he was working on that, we were coming up with a plan. We quickly realized that even for our orange boxes, there's 3 vials in a box. The pharmacy can't handle that because at Portage, like you said, we're so large, we have so many boxes out there. So we established a plan then to go to the counties. So we set one up at the hospital, we set one up in Trumbull County, one up in Mahoney County, so that these squads can come to us, where we essentially swapped out the vials. And what we later learned then, between actually Portage and Ahuja, we hit over 1,000 drug boxes that were affected by this. Between all of the boxes, the different types of boxes, because of the epi. We actually were, because of kit check, we knew where these boxes were, who had them, and how many they had. So we sent out the spreadsheet, and by the end of the week, we were able to hit 90% of the boxes inside of the system, inside of our system, because kit check knew where they were at.
Yeah.
We sent out the spreadsheet, hey, this agency has these 10 boxes, I need these here on Friday. And for the most part, the agencies were very understanding, or like, it's outside of our scope, you know what I mean? We can't,
out of control. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It is what it is.
but they were willing to assist us in that and make those exchanges. So the pharmacy then worked well with us. He brought his people in as well, and we were able to swap those out. I mean, it was assembly line. We had agency shows up with an ambulance with no cot with 50 plus boxes in it. Like, hey, we need to, you know what I mean? So it wasn't just a couple boxes as some of these places.
Yeah,
it was a lot. Yeah.
Some people were showing up with 2.
Exactly.
Some people were showing up with 2 ambulances.
Yeah, exactly.
Spilling out, right?
We quickly realized that you can't just have all those people show up at the pharmacy. You know what I mean? Our one guy, Brett, ain't going to be able to handle that.
No.
So
he's good, but
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we have 150 maybe spare boxes at Portage at any time, and we had over 1,000 drug boxes that are out in the community that were just affected. So we can't just bring back, and we, as AJ said, exchanged over 900 drug boxes in those first 3 days.
Yeah.
So I mean, they processed 300 drug boxes essentially in 3 days.
Yeah, which was
300 each day.
incredible. You know what I mean? I wasn't able to make the first day because it was such short notice, but I made day 2 where we had Trumbull and Mahoney County, and that first day, I mean, it was nonsense. They said, I mean, people coming in just because there were so many boxes that had to be touched. So it was incredible, but because of kit check, we were able to hatch this plan out. We knew where these boxes were and identify what boxes were affected, which was
and Port Pharmacy not only had to deal with our EMS drug boxes, they also had this epi
everything else
throughout the hospital
system,
in different trays on different code carts. They had to even touch not only EMS's epinephrine that was deployed, but their own epinephrine that was deployed inside the hospitals.
So we had all that collected within basically 4 days from the time we knew about it.
Yeah. And like you said, there's some boxes that are still in circulation when this happened because trucks are still in service, so it took a couple of days for those to rotate through the system. But everybody was aware of it. And that kind of hits home too. Our 1-dose system, our notification system, we were able to use that as well to push out to all the users and say, hey, there's a recall. We need to exchange these in the next couple of days. But you know what I mean? Everything that all these things that we have in place worked as they were intended. So.
The complaint being we got too many notifications
yeah, exactly.
about a major
drug recall.
Major recall, yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So anything else in the pharmacy space? And
I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff that we do. I mean, we work with them for not even drugs, but they provide. We put Certidose in those boxes. They do. They manage other supplies in the boxes. We talked like needles and syringes and those types of things. So I mean, they do a lot for us. And
You touched on this, but even they provide the medications. Like it's our doctors that take care of us Cleveland Browns, right? A great example.
yeah.
The medications that the team doctors have, they're managing all those trays, and those doctors consist of EM, anesthesiology, ortho, sports med. So they've got all of their own requirements. It's not just EMS orange box. There's also trays that go with. I mean, really, it's almost a mini ICU tray in some regards that goes out on top of all of the EMS boxes that go out for the EMS staff at the event. So that's another 10 drug boxes worth of stuff that go on any given game day.
Well, and then we have special events like when we run marathons and stuff. There might be drugs that we have deployed to a special event that's in its own different colored box, with a bunch of labels on it, so we know the drug that's in there.
But even go back to the standardization. We're working on the ambulance. We're using these same boxes. When I go to the Brown Stadium,
Exactly.
we're using the same boxes. I mean, we know it's all standardized, right? So that just helps everybody across the board to make it safer. So
Yeah, whether you're working your A job as a full-time firefighter paramedic, your B job that's with UH EMSI, you're picking up shifts at the Browns game or an event, or you're running at one of the racetracks that we provide med command at. It's standard across the board to make it safer and easier for everybody.
Yep.
I like that they help, again, policy-wise it's system-wide, but even when you guys are making medication decisions in the protocol, say like ketamine for seizure, it's nice to be able to have those recommendations of, is there other second-line seizure drugs out there? Yes, this one's acceptable, and we already carry it.
Yeah.
So it's nice not just to load up the box of all these Keppra and other meds that you're going to use randomly that, hey, we already have an acceptable drug in here,
Yeah, we're
it's
very
nice
Let's use it to its fullest potential,
yeah.
essentially.
yeah, we're very intentional on what medications are in there, and we try not to add medications
with an EMS mindset.
Correct.
It's nice to have that of, I don't want to carry extra drugs that I'm randomly going to use once every 2 years. Here's a drug that's acceptable. That,
I mean, we've had huge conversations about one of the most expensive drugs in that drug box, about does it stay in, does it come out, and we've gone back and forth with it. It's still that medication's in there, but it's still an ongoing conversation about what drugs are in the drug box and should they be there? Does it need to stay in that orange drug box? Does it need to come out of the orange drug box? Does it need to go into a different form factor? We've been working on a project for years, it seems like, which it has been, of even moving to a different form factor for a smaller box that you can work out of. And there's difficulties with that because then we come up with a plan and then things change either at the state level or drug availability, and it throws a wrench into our plan. So
I mean, even just the changes in the scope of practice.
The positive changes in scope of practice have actually set that project back
Yep.
because it derails some of the the baked-in safety measures that we were trying to accomplish with that initiative. Unintentional consequence of advancement in this case. Yeah, that's great.
I think that's all to say is thank you to our pharmacy partners.
Yes.
Another kind of, I don't want to say in the same space, but in an adjacent space to that is and wasn't but 30 minutes ago you were singing the praises of our team that manages our electronic medical records, our EPCR systems, right? And there's a whole group of guys that manage that whole thing, and we have several different. We try to have as few, but in a system this big, there are a couple disparate EPCR systems. Health EMS, ESO. We've got a couple different ones, but you were part of the kind of the sales pitch. Part of we've got a team. You don't have to reach out to them specifically. We've got people that have control within the institution. You want to talk
just
a little
from
bit about
either building or fixing issues, where you would just put a ticket in. You'd put an email ticket in to some company, and
Yeah.
then you'll hear back next week.
Yeah, when you get to
Where,
it, when they
you
get to
know,
it.
Nice having this direct contact or direct control over these products is nice. It's just to be able to call one of the EMS Institute people and they can fix it right then. So, or give you recommendations or whatever it happens to be. So that is very nice.
Yeah, so our documentation team, again, it takes care of all that. They do all the setup for new agencies. That in and of itself, if you've never had the need or the opportunity to set up a EPCR system from scratch, that is not an overnight thing.
No.
That is a large undertaking, build out, gathering all the user names, or all the users and their usernames and emails and contact information, and building out the agency as far as apparatus and linking all that, so that NEMSIS data gets sent correctly, getting certifications put in and all that, and then making the chart in the relevant to how the medical director expects you to practice medicine. Again, that's not an overnight thing, and they handle all that. Yeah, they need some input, they need some spreadsheets from the departments to make that happen, but ultimately, when it's go live, it's already built for them. They'll come out, they'll do the training, they'll get you up to speed on how we can, how we want you to interact with this whatever platform we're talking about, and subsequently, you're off to the races.
Well, when you hit medication, it's our medications.
Yeah.
There's not 10,000 in there. It's the ones that we know are going to be in there.
That's a great point. I mean, we're talking about how change concentrations, change of that has to propagate down, right? We add a medication, or we add an indication. You're just using ketamine, perfect example, right? We add an indication. It's got to change in everybody's report, right? That now has to be an acceptable drug from a protocol use standpoint on a seizure call, where the day before that decision was made, it was, it would have been like, oh, what are you doing that for? It's inappropriate, right? That would be a protocol deviation that would have gotten flagged.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that affects back to pharmacy is our drug license, right? So we've got to manage the drug licenses with all these departments, and we help out with that and give them these, because for those of you who don't know, at least in Ohio, which I'm assuming most places, we have to list what drug it is and the concentration that you're going to carry inside their drug box. So we've got 5 pages of drugs that we have to submit with every drug license that we do, and every time we nosy it every 2 years, we have to make sure that that's up to date if we're going to be changing it. We keep drugs on there that we don't expect you guys to have in the drug box, but if there's a shortage, I don't want to go change 300 plus drug licenses to add on morphine, which we don't typically carry in the drug box. But when we had our Dilaudid shortage, which for the most part through, we could have added morphine in the box. We can't go back changing those drug licenses every single time with the state.
Yep.
That IT team also, we were talking about EPCRs, but they also help with our iPads. A lot of your monitor setups.
Well, I mean,
LifeNet. They are.
I mean, you need to speak to that a little bit. Not only do we provide the software package, we also give them the tool.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
We give them the charting tool as part of that agreement as their medical control, right? So, not everybody takes us up on it. Some people want to control their own destiny, and that's fine. Obviously, all of these are web-based products that we're talking about in this day and age. So, what it runs on is irrelevant, but just the management. There's a guy his job is just to manage iPads for the EMS Institute.
Yep.
This is his job. Manages iPads, right? Doesn't anything with just the hardware, right? You're coming due. You're going to be out of spec here, in
which
some
just
point.
happened recently.
Which just happened recently, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be out of spec. This is going to be, as they put controls on versioning in software updates of the pads, and things become obsolete. There needs to be a process in the background to get that stuff swapped out. And like I said, there's just a guy. His job is iPads.
Yep.
There's a couple of guys. Their job is just the software,
Yeah.
right? Again, you're talking about economies of scale here, and necessary positions to touch so many things. And,
Well, I think even just having those working relationships. Just a few weeks ago, we had a department say, "Hey, you know what I mean? How do we know that there's a feature of ID scanning? Well, how do we do it, right? Well, instead of me creating the video, I call our guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll have that done tomorrow." And then the education has already then been created. You know what I mean? They're on it. They know what to do. They know the processes. So it improves our education tremendously.
Well, and with the control in the MS Institute's in all these facilities, so we would say let's LifeNet because we're doing a big LifeNet care. So it's a new LifeNet update. And John has been amazing. But it's also repetitive where, you know, we got Parma done and Elyria done and St. John's. So by learning that, it's not Parma doing their own.
Mm-hmm.
St. John's working on their own. It's getting to the point where we can copy that and we already know problems. We ran into this here. We ran into this here. Or this is the process we need to go. So by having that system-wide control, it's nice to be able to update these products and we just had a thing at Elyria where they're looking at some actually communication back and forth type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, John was like, "Hey, we can do that in this new life. Oh,
Yeah.
we don't have to build a new product. No, we already have that.
no,
Yeah.
it turns out
Yeah.
it exists,
You know, it's already
Yeah.
here. Oh, well, you know,
we can optimize
we
what
can.
we have.
Yeah, we already have things that we can do. So
Yeah.
having that again, system-wide control is nice. That
It's even just having the subject matter experts. A couple months back, a guy from Pennsylvania called from a hospital system out there because he knew that we had and knew the people at about LifeNet and the new system and everything, and he's calling me trying to get some answers. You know what I mean? But we have the subject matter expert to say, "Hey, this is the guy to talk to, and he's going to answer all your questions, even outside of our system. We can give people guidance and stuff like that too." So
we can tell you how to break this on scale.
we've done that once or twice.
Yeah.
And to your point, not only with Life Force, but for the EPCRs, we have a standard install across our med control. So if you're on one of our supported platforms, ESO Health EMS, there's a base install that you get that we want is the bare minimum that we want you to do from a documentation standpoint. Those individual agencies can then tweak it if they want to do more and provide better documentation. It's great, but we have a standard set across. So it makes deployment actually quicker because, again, all that work that has to go into building an EPCR, we copy paste our base install. Like, okay, this is the ground floor. Where do you want to go from here?
Add agency specific stuff and move on. Yeah. All right. The other thing that it kind of ties in with what we're talking about here is our EMS Con Ed and our EMS training. And I mean, that probably could be an episode in and of itself. I'm taking a big bite here, but I think we can, kind of summarize this. I mean, as part of let's just take our monthly initiative as kind of the baseline here, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that's rolling, that's kind of on demand in the background, but which includes this product.
Correct.
But let's just talk about our yearly or our monthly rotating offerings, right? And that is some presentation put together by subject matter expert. Usually it's a medical director or a EMS coordinator on whatever topic, and that is given to the entirety of all the agencies, right? Through various formats. Smaller agencies may combine, and somebody will go out and teach that. Larger agencies might get one-on-one, multi-shift education, but nevertheless, that is a tuned product as well. That's just not arbitrary. It's just like, oh, we need spackle a whole fit. We're looking at solving problems that we're noticing in that greater sphere of influence that we have. Like, hey, we're watching OB problems. We've had a rash of OB problems or something like that. So then we can make sure, hey, let's get our OB up to snuff. Or I know Dominic pays close attention to making sure that our offerings check all of the boxes for recertification, right? So make sure you have enough of content in different spaces so that can be applied. So we don't like load you heavy in geriatrics over here, and you don't, you're deficient in pediatrics or or trauma or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Gives us the ability to make sure that we're giving the providers what they need from an educational perspective to meet all of their credentialing requirements.
And I think it's important to understand that, yeah, this is a well-oiled machine, but everything works together, right? So there's a dilaudid shortage, right? So, oh, hey, we're going to roll this out in next month's education.
Yep.
As we're going to all these agencies, that dilaudid is on shortage and you may see morphine or something like that. So
we can always add
it
a
all
slide.
kind of intertwines and
Does.
We can
some
always
people add a slide. Yeah.
Add a slide.
Add a slide. Right? That's the
Yep.
that's the internal joke, right?
Yep.
Dominic's cringing right
Yeah.
now. We need to add a slide. We need to talk about this. But that allows us to give
It does.
timely information out to the masses, right?
Yep.
Again, with the notifications we got built into OneDose and other methodologies, blast emails and stuff. Again, what we hear is the complaint of, I got too many notifications. That also means you're not missing things.
Correct. Yeah. And I am very deliberate in those. I'm the one dose guy. I'm very deliberate in the messages that we send out that we're not there to spam or market to you. We're there
Yeah.
to give you the information you need,
It's
such
actionable.
as
It's actionable.
yeah. And to the point that when we identified the departments, like the OneDose people, the OneDose messages that went out only went to the departments that had a drug box that was part of the recall. If you didn't have a drug box in the recall, I'm not going to bother with you. I can select down to that granular level. Now, if we've got closings across the system, we've talked about that, and we're working on other improvements there, but I think that it's worthwhile that the whole region know a hospital is going on a trauma diversion, right? Because, yeah, maybe you're not in Geauga County, and Geauga County is not accepting traumas, but that's going to increase my volume to Cleveland. It's going to increase my volume to Portage. It's going to affect the whole region if someone's closed. And I'm sure, I know we've talked about it, but there's a huge episode with a hospital that's not even part of UH. Akron General flooded during the winter, and they shut down operations for a few days, essentially. Like that was huge for our system from a region standpoint to help support them as they kind of recover from that. But then we've got to then support all the patients that were going to be going there, can't go there anymore because they're just not operating.
Yeah. And then
The development of those classes too, though, people need to realize it's not just me and AJ making it. It's we can go to trauma,
right.
cardiac, HHVI, and get this information, or peds. It's nice to have a true specialist in that field do those trainings for us.
Yeah, it's the paramedics, it's the instructors that are delivering it, but it's the subject matter experts that have created that. You know what I mean? And that's whose information they're trying to get out there. So.
Right, and again, kind of peek behind the scenes, which is what all this is. That's not just, hey, here's your lecture for the month, go give said lecture. No. There is a very deliberate and required train the trainer that happens on every single for every single month. So if I wrote this month's CE, once it was vetted and approved by the medical directors, I would be giving, and I do every year at the protocol rollouts. Is my kind of my requirement at this point. It's incumbent upon me to train all the trainers. Like, here's what we did, why we did it, and here's the points you need to hit as we're delivering this. So we have a as consistent as possible message, right? I mean, obviously solve for human for that are involved, but nevertheless, everybody's starting from the same kind of basilar space. We're not, there's not as much interpretation, right? This is why we did it. This is how we did it. And that's what we expect to be, given out to the masses as we do that education.
And that was one of the things that I was really impressed with when I came to university hospitals, because I came from residency. We didn't do this. We didn't have an organized education system, so I had to come up with education for my squads during residency. As opposed to this, I come into a system where I've got a huge breadth of knowledge. We've got neonatal resuscitation being taught by a neonatologist. This month is geriatric trauma getting taught by a trauma surgeon.
By a trauma surgeon, yeah.
Stroke is taught by the stroke people. EMS, like I will create trainings on EMS stuff and EM stuff, what is in where I'm a subject matter expert. But we have a huge breadth of people that span neonates all the way through geriatrics and everything in between.
Yep.
Pediatric, Dr. Yaski does a lot of pediatric lectures.
Mm-hmm.
So we rely on them. It's nice to have that great education basis. And then I, as the med director, can go concentrate on, oh, you guys want some education on this specific subsection? Yeah, I'll come out and teach you on that.
Mm-hmm.
We've already got a huge library of things that we can pull from. You're getting this education. I can then augment and add to that education as you guys need on a specific topic.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention that we have identified that the education is so important to the point that now, if you miss the in-person session, hey, you can go online now and get the same education taught by the doctor, right? You know, you miss your fire departments or whatever's in-person lecture, but say you're on vacation or something like that, you can go back and still get these educations down the line because we feel that they're so important moving forward, and it kind of just goes back to the work that we're doing here. But
And of course, you know, CE gets issued for all of that because it's,
Yeah.
it's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, from an education standpoint, the Institute, we allow in-person 2 hours every month. We offer specialty trainings. We did skills trainings just recently. We're in the middle of our annual skills training. Other sections do other things. We put out at least an hour of podcast education every month. So we're generating at least, at minimum, 3 hours of CE every month that we are in operations, and we're planning to even build upon that are available to our med control agencies. Obviously the most benefit from that selection, but obviously even here we have this free podcast that we go out that the whole point is education to make everyone better and be high performing at their job. So education is obviously one of the cornerstones of what UH is trying to do.
And touching back on with IT, we also offer an online product, Fire Rescue One, where the departments, and that's technically, again, those IT guys build that. It actually becomes yours, and it has, it offers EMS fire inspector. There's even HR stuff and things in that now. So my department heavily uses that for other things. So but that product's there too, where you can fill in those gaps of, again, those 3 hours that we're definitely offering, and then there's pretty much unlimited on that. So
I mean, we can even touch on more. We're talking about our monthly education, our lectures, but like you said, we're putting, you know, we have some hands-on and some other things like that. We're putting hundreds of providers through skills training right now out our way. That's open to everybody. Hey, come in, let's get hands-on training on skills that we don't do very often, so that we can re-educate every year and do that. So it's not just our hands-on lectures. We're trying to do as much as we can with what we got. I mean, just to put some numbers on things, I'm looking at the new system that we switched to in January 1. So our number one instructor for our UH system has done 150 courses just since January 1st. And then the one behind that's 140, and the one behind that's 134. So that's just the top three. Those are how many courses they've taught since January 1.
5 months.
Exactly. So, and you can kind of go down the list. This tracks everybody, and the ones right there with them are pretty darn close as far as the numbers that they've taught, because we've got people that's just what they do. They just go out and teach the CE. Now some of us, we've got some other stuff going on that we don't get to do that as much, but that just kind of puts a number to what's going on out there. So
It just goes to show, you know, we've got that in person, we've got the in-person skills. We're making a big push this year to bring our simulation back into spec of what it was. It was really good. We lost a key player in that, and you know, again, we're reframing that to make another big push. You know, this year, for the second half of this year, the on-demand stuff we already talked about. You know, if you miss it, you can still get the credit. You can still watch it. We've got, of course, this product and everything that comes with it, which includes a huge reference library on our website, right? So that's all the historical continuing education, all of our historical videos. There's plenty of stuff in there, you know, to keep people informed and up to speed. You have those?
I was looking for it. I can't find it.
I mean, if we're talking about education, just as looking at the notes while he's looking for that, I mean, it's not just continuing education, but initial education as well throughout the system, as far as our EMT courses, our paramedic courses. Many of those, I mean, whether it's in-person, online, hybrid, whatever version that you attend, or we do as many of those as we can as well. You know, I mean, just to push out the education. and getting people to that point.
Yeah,
So
well, we did a whole, we had Fallon in here. We did a
Yeah.
whole discussion about our initial education. Go check out that podcast. I
Yeah.
mean, that's eye opening in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
But what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're running 6 paramedic programs at any 7 at any given time.
Mhm.
I mean, we're talking 20, 25 people per class, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So just even to put it in perspective, I think right now they're looking at the numbers for the fall class, one of the fall classes, and I think there was up to 50 signed up to start the AMP portion. So the numbers are growing. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Which
it's
was,
good.
Yeah, which is nice because after we, like everybody else, took a hit in COVID, right?
Yep.
And attendance was down, and nice to see those numbers rebounding. And
Yeah.
But it's also nice to have those people in those positions, like you said, Fallon, where I've called her before on just an education, maybe a state or a cert or a
Yeah.
national registry thing. She knows the answer.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom.
dealt with
I
this
don't know
before.
the answers, but I know the right person
Yeah,
to
no,
call
that's-
and get
Yeah,
the answer.
exactly.
And it's nice to have all those people in those positions to
Yeah.
just like, okay, hold on, let me.
Well, I mean, that's what tomorrow's going to turn into. We talked about this in the initial, in the initial episode for this series, but tomorrow is the first Wednesday, and that means a marathon of meetings for us. But that's where our cadence comes from as an organization, right? So
You get all those key players in a room,
We're-
and then we can have
right.
these discussions.
I mean, even if we didn't go over the agenda, just the sheer fact that we're all in the room together,
Yeah.
organically we start solving problems and we start sharing information, and exactly to Wes's point, right?
All right, so 2025 UH EMSI CE courses. In 2025, we taught 3,076 total courses, 25,000 students, and that's 6,198 CE hours of credit given. So that's 25,000 people that signed up for those courses. And that's just our in-person courses. For our online portion from Prehospital Paradigm in 2025, we issued almost 3,000 certificates for over 3,000 hours, and then that was across 49 different courses online as well. And I think we're in almost all 50 states of people that are signed up for our courses online. And said it last night. This will be delayed from last night, obviously, but still working on that CAPC accreditation. It's been a multi-year process, which hopefully by the end of 2026 we'll have CAPC credits available. So that way, sign up online, and no matter where you're at, whether we can do Ohio for free, we need CAPC to be able to do it nationally. Once we get that, we'll have credits available we can give across the United States.
We'll have that presence.
Here, I was able to actually come up with our numbers year to date. So year to date, currently we've put out 1,554 courses just in person. That's not including the online stuff, with an estimated about 6,800 students between those courses. So that just kind of puts it into perspective at this point in the years. The instructors are working hard.
The education machine. Yep.
Yes. Yep.
So, all right. Well, I think that's going to kind of wrap out this session, and we look forward to seeing you for the next episode with some more behind the scenes in the EMS Institute.